Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, I'm Alvitra and Nisa. I'm the fourth semester student of English Literature Department, A class, Islamic University of Maulana Malik Ibrahim Malang. Here, I want to share about my analysis about the story titled The Man in the Moon by Baum that was published at 1897. So let's start with the plot. We know that plot has this kind of form from exposition to denouement. Let's start with the exposition. The exposition is started when the author tried to figure out the man in the moon character. The man in the moon was rather lonesome and often he peeked over the edge of the moon. It means that the man in the moon is living up in the moon. And then the moon, one day he looked down and saw an alderman sailing up to him. And then this alderman made him more anxious than ever to visit the earth. And then after that, the rising action is come when finally the man in the moon decided to go visit the earth. The man finally decided to visit the earth, so he left the house and locked the door and put the key in his pocket. The man go to the earth by a moonbeam, and then when he was first come to the earth, he lost his hold and come tumbling down head over heels and fell plumb into a river. And then he met a farmer and asked where the Norwich is, because the alderman said to him before that Norwich was a beautiful place and there was a pease porridge that very tasteful to it. And then the farmer said it's somewhere away to the south. And then the man meet a good looking woman, and then he stopped there and he said that he want to try a pease porridge. And then the woman said to the man that he should visit her house, and then she will serve him a bowl of pease porridge. The climax part goes after this, because there are different temperature about the moon and the earth. The man asked for a cold porridge, and then the woman served him a cold porridge, but the man tastes it like a very hot porridge that can burn his mouth. The man yelled to the woman because the porridge is too hot. And then the following action happened when the man meet the magistrates and an astronomer, that he asked to go back to the moon because he thought that the earth is not comfortable for him anymore. And then the denouement action is happened when the astronomer said to him that there will be a big balloon in town which belonged to the circus that came here last summer and was found for a board bill. We can inflate this balloon and send the man out to the moon. And then finally, the man come home with a balloon. After the adventure, he was well content to stay at home. That is the denouement. Okay, we go to the point of view. The point of view of this story is editorial omniscient narrator. It means that a narrator who inserts his own commentary about characters or events into the narrative. We can see in the 48th line in the story, "Thank you," said the man in the moon, "but stop." Nah, in this part, "but stop, I must not call him the man in the moon any longer." The narrator insert his or her own commentary in the story. The next is characters. We know that there are two characters that are major and minor. The major character is the man in the moon, obviously. The man in the moon is dynamic because he changed his character from the beginning until the last story. The next is round character because the author described about the character of the man in the moon very well. And then the minor character, there are older men that has flat and static. It means that the author doesn't describe the character of Alderman well, and static means that Alderman has no change of the character. There are good-looking women that has round and static, magistrate that has flat and dynamic, and astronomer that has flat and static character. The next is setting. There are two kinds of setting. There are place and time. In the place, the first is moon. In the first paragraph, that is in the 7th line, the man in the moon was rather lonesome and of the peak over the edge of the moon. The second is river. We can find it in the line 36. He fell plumb into a river. The next is Norwich. We can find in line 58. Surely this is the town of Norwich. The next is a good-looking woman house in the line 61. So he thanked her and entered the house for eat peace porridge. The next is time. The first in the morning in the line 40, and then in the evening that we can find in the why it's in this conversation, why it's quite cool this evening. This conversation happened in the following action. The next is symbols. The main symbols in this story is peace porridge, because the peace porridge caused the conflict and appeared in the climax. Sorry for the typo. Peace porridge peace porridge caused the conflict and appeared the climax. The other symbols, we can say it a balance that made the man can go back to the moon. The balance show the meanings of freedom. The next is themes. There are two themes. The first is universal themes. The universal themes is about hoping or expecting too much. The detailed themes is the man in the moon is hoping to go to the earth with many beautiful expectations, but after he arrives, he doesn't feel the same. The themes, universal themes, is also can be said with the mismatch reality, about the mismatch condition between reality and expectation. The next is literary elements that is imagery. We can find here there are three: visual, auditory, and gustatory. The visual imagery is it can find in the line 11. One day he looked down and saw. It means that is an imaginary imagery visual. The next is auditory. The words of the alderman made him more anxious than ever to visit there. The alderman said to him before, and then he listened to the alderman, so that's why he want to visit there. We can find it in line 20. The next is gustatory. The gustatory imagery is when the man was trying to eat the porridge. The man was so hungry and he took a big spoonful at once. We can find it in line 66. Next is additional element. There are conflict, man versus who. The answer is man versus nature. The next is diction. This story uses an informal form. We can find the evidence in line 72 there is a fiddlesticks. There is a conversation. Fiddlesticks, she replied. It showed the informal sentence. The next is additional elements. The additional elements is opinion. I disagree with this story because he belongs to the man. He mentioned that the earth is too hot. The next one is connection. The connection of this story is connected to the astronomy because it shows about the contrary between the earth and the moon's temperature. Thanks for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.